Hey everyone, I'm Robbie Lerman and this is Rob's at the Movies. Today I'm going to be reviewing one of Shout Factory's newest collector's edition Blu-ray releases. This is Tales from the Darkside, the movie. This came out in 1990 and was directed by John Harrison. It stars Debbie Harry of Blondie fame, as well as many other actors such as Christian Slater, Julianne Moore, James Remar, and Rae-Dawn Chong, among others. This is a horror anthology film which is based off of the TV series which ran from 1983 to 1988. And that series was created by none other than the master of horror, George A. Romero. So just to give a little bit of insight into the film, it features 4 stories. The first is the wraparound story. The second is Lot 249. The third is Cat from Hell. And the fourth story is called Lover's Vow. Now, I personally had not seen this movie before. As a horror aficionado, that kills me to say, but I haven't seen this before. So I want to say this was a blind buy, but it wasn't necessarily a blind buy because I did a little bit of research before I actually bought the film. So what I would say about each story is that they're all, I guess, horror mixed with a little bit of comedy. Nothing is taken way too seriously, with the exception of, I guess, Lover's Vow is a little bit more of a serious take on a fairy tale. But just to go into a little bit more detail of the plot, the film starts out with this woman, played by Debbie Harry, who seems like a normal woman living in suburbia. Everything's all cheery. The movie starts out very cheery. She goes back to her house and she's putting her groceries down. And after she does that, she ends up opening a door to a secret dungeon that she's holding a child in, played by Matthew Lawrence, who's named Timmy. She has this little boy in a dungeon, and she's planning to cook him for dinner. So already you've got this pretty evil story about a witch to start with. So in order to stall Debbie Harry from going ahead and cooking Timmy, he goes ahead and picks up the Tales from the Darkside book and starts reading her stories from the book. So that leads us into our first story, Lot 249, which is about a bunch of college students, one played by Steve Buscemi and others played by Julianne Moore and Christian Slater. It's a story about a man who goes and resuscitates a mummy to exact revenge on students that have wronged him. So I'm not going to go into further details about the story and where it ends up, but it's a clever tale with some really nice effects. And basically in between these stories you've got the initial wraparound story that is the connective tissue. So after each tale you go back to that story, and then Timmy ends up reading another tale. So in the second tale, Cat from Hell, which is based off of a short story by Stephen King, and the screenplay is actually by George Romero, you have a story about a man who hires a hitman to kill a cat, a demonic cat, that he's afraid of. And if anything, what Cat from Hell taught me is that I shouldn't trust cats, and it pretty much cemented the idea that I'm probably never going to get a cat, because this cat was evil. He didn't. There's some pretty. Cat does some pretty wicked things, and I won't spoil anything, but what struck me about this story is how effectively it was told. But one practical effect in this story was just so well done And after seeing behind the scenes footage about this specific effect, I have newfound appreciation for it. I mean, it took me by complete surprise, and I was pretty grossed out by it, and I just thought it was so creative. So going from Lot 249 to Cat from Hell, I would say Lot 249 was enjoyable, and then Cat from Hell, it's almost like an escalation. It just gets even creepier and gorier, and then we move on to the final story, Lover's Vow, which is, I would say, in terms of design, probably the most detailed of the three stories, and definitely has the most special effects of the three stories. So Lover's Vow has to do with a gargoyle that murders the friend of James Remar, and the gargoyle says to him, please, you can't tell anyone about what you've seen. And it's a vow, and he promised that he wasn't going to tell anyone about what he saw. So after this happens, a mysterious woman comes into the picture, played by Ray Dawn Chong, and she immediately is drawn to James Remar's character, and he's drawn to her. They fall in love, they have children, and everything seems hunky-dory. I'm not going to go any further with it. I mean, I guess you can almost guess what happens, but I thought the way it all transpired was interesting. It was interesting, and when the effects came into the picture, I thought it was very, very, very creative, extremely gory, but I was just in awe of the creature effects in this specific story. Just incredibly well done. So that reverts us back to the wraparound story, which concludes the film. I'm not going to go into detail about how that story ends, but it's witty in its own way. And that concludes Tales from the Darkside, the movie. So overall, the movie is very similar to the Creepshow films. A lot of people have referred to Tales from the Darkside, the movie, as a Creepshow 3, even though there was a Creepshow 3, but we're not going to talk about that mess. So I would say that Tales from the Darkside initially stemmed from the success of 1982's Creepshow. And I think that all of these horror anthology films are just so much fun to watch. Every story is just so creative, and I love each twist and turn that they take. And overall, I really, really enjoyed this film. I had no idea what to expect, and I was totally taken with it from beginning to end. I really, really enjoyed it. So Shout Factory wasn't able to get the original film elements for Tales from the Darkside. So this was taken, the video was taken from an older master. And I have to say, the video looked really good. I can't complain about anything. I guess a couple of shots looked kind of soft, but overall, I thought the picture was clear. It's probably the best the film has ever looked, because I looked at a rip from Amazon after I looked at the Blu-ray, and this is definitely the best the film has ever looked. And the audio quality was really good as well, but where this Blu-ray succeeds 110% is in the special features department. Shout Factory went all out for this release. There's a 6-part documentary that goes into extreme detail of the film itself, and then goes into detail of each individual story and background on the TV series. I thought it was so informative, and it gives fans of both the TV series and the film everything that they want. There's dozens of interviews, there's dozens of behind the scenes footage. It's a wonderfully done documentary, and I can't compliment Shout Factory enough for putting together such a great documentary that both does the film justice and gives the fans everything that they want. So besides this documentary, you've got behind the scenes footage, you've got trailers, you've got radio spots, and you've got a still image gallery, one for the film and one for behind the scenes photos of the film. So overall, the Blu-ray is a really stacked package of great, great, great special features, and the film looks really good. But I think what really justifies this purchase are the extras. I mean, you're really, really, really getting your money's worth with this. So I was very, very impressed. I don't think anyone will be disappointed that picks up this release. And Shout Factory has really, really done it again. I'm so impressed.